What is DMC-32 from Dragonframe? What is this device for? And can you use it right out of the box? Hi, I'm Ben from Moco Toolbox. In this video, I'm going to talk about DMC-32, this awesome device from Dragonframe that many people don't know what this is for. DMC is Dragonframe's master controller, and they say this is a motion control coordinator. But what does that mean? And if you buy it, what can you do with it? And there is another important question as well that I get asked a lot. Can we use DMC-32 right out of the box? This is a device that can be used for motion control purposes, both for stop motion and live action. For explaining more, let me go back to the basics. Here's a short disclaimer that this video is not sponsored by Dragonframe, so the information I provide are not official information about DMC-32, but they are absolutely correct because they come from my years of experience working with DMC-32, using it for different sort of motion control projects, so they are reliable. When we want to use motorized devices to move objects or the camera on the set, whether it's a stop motion or live action, we typically use stepper motors or servo motors, but in this purpose, I focus on stepper motors. Each axis of movement has one motor associated with that, meaning that if you want to move an object from left to right, there is one motor attached to the slider that moves the object from left to right. If you want to move it up and down at the same time, you need another motor for the second axis. So one motor moves the object from left to right, and the other motor moves the object on a vertical basis. So each motor is associated with one axis. When we want to program how the objects or the camera should move on a set, we need to program these motors individually. So when we combine all the movements, we get the desired movements. How can we program these motors? You might already know that Dragonframe has this dedicated motion control workspace called Arc Motion Control, same as the animation workspace and photography workspace. There is this separate workspace that you can control all the axes of the movement when you are using motion control devices. When we program a movement here, there should be a way to transfer this programmed move to the motors that are physically in charge of moving the rigs. The most common way that computers talk with the outside world these days for transferring data is through a USB port. So we can send this programmed move out of the computer through a USB device. But the thing is, we still can't use this data, which is transferred through a USB port, to run the motors. USBs talk with a different language than what we need. So we need some sort of interface to translate those signals to the kind of signals that we can use to talk to the motors. This translator or interface is what DMC-32 is. It's a device that you can connect it via a USB from one side to the computer and get the desired signals to run the motors from the other end. This basically explains what is the most common thing, the most important thing that DMC-32 does. As you see, there is this USB port to connect to the computer and these other ports that you can get the translated signal that we need to run the motors. I'm going to explain more about all these features, but let me talk about the other things that DMC-32 does at the same time, and then we go a little deeper with this information because you cannot use these signals directly to run motors. DMC-32 also has an integrated DMX controller, so you can control DMX lights at the same time with the motion controlled rigs. You can use DMX combined with motion control, or you can use just a DMX, meaning that when you're moving the camera from one point to another, you can set the lights to change at the same time that the camera moves, as long as the lights support DMX. or you can just use DMX lighting for different exposures on the set, adding in-camera VFX, using different lights with multi-passes and combine them in post. You can do a lot of things with DMX lighting and motion control. So DMC-32 gives you this feature as well. Now we get to the most important and sometimes most confusing question, which is, can I use DMC-32 right out of the box? If I want to use motion control in my production, can I buy a DMC-32, connect it to Dragonframe, and start controlling stepper motors with it? The answer is no. DMC-32 can control up to 32 motors. That's why it's called 32. It's the next generation of DMC-16, which was able to run 16 motors. But you cannot run these motors directly off this box. DMC-32 grabs the controlling signals via a USB port and translates it to steps and direction signals that the stepper motors need to know where they should go. But you need another device between the DMC and the motors, which is called stepper motor driver. If you'd like to learn more about these motion control elements, please check my previous videos, especially this one, which I talked about 4 different components of a motion control system, including drivers. So DMC-32 provides you with the signals that you require for stepper motor drivers to run a stepper motor. Drivers come in different shapes. They could be box drivers or these PCB form drivers. For each stepper motor, you need 1 driver. So if you like to run 8 motors at a time, you need 8 stepper motors. You probably would put them in a box along with the power supply and do all the connections, inputs and outputs, so you can easily connect it to your stepper motors and DMC and start using the motors. I've built different sort of stepper motor driver boxes for customized projects. Could be small, it could be bigger. It can run smaller motors or bigger motors or be adjustable. Any sort of driver box, you need that to be able to use DMC-32 to run stepper motors. Now let's take a deeper look at DMC-32 features. It says it can run up to 32 motors synced together for live action and stop motion shoots. That's a very big deal. What's the difference between motion control and stop motion and live action? When we are shooting stop motion, frames could timely be minutes or hours apart from each other. The first frame can be shot right now, and then you're gonna change things on your set, animate a puppet, or do whatever adjustments you need to make on the set, and then after 10 minutes or an hour or anything, shoot the second frame. So the position of the camera on the first frame and the second frame matters only when you are taking the shot. In between those, it doesn't matter. So when you are using motion control in your stop motion production and you are using multiple axes of movement, these motors doesn't have to go from the first position to the second position all sync together timely. Meaning that if you are sliding the camera to the right and panning the head to the left, sliding and panning doesn't have to finish at the same time. This is the position A, and this is the camera at position B. In this example, panning takes less time than sliding. So as you notice, finally the camera gets to the desired position, but different axes doesn't do it at the same time. So for using motion control in stop motion, we can use a technique called shoot, move, shoot. We shoot the scene, all the motors move to the next position, no matter sync together or not, they get to the second position and we shoot the next frame. But for live action, this can't be happening. In live action, we need all the movement happening the way that we want it to be happening in real life, because we are shooting live, we are shooting a video. So if the camera needs to go from point A to point B and is sliding to the right at the same time that it's tilting left and the focus is changing, all should happen synced together so we can shoot live action at the same time. We can't have motors get to their next position different in timing. We need all of them to be synced together. And that's one of the most powerful features of DMC-32. It can move up to 32 motors synced together, all according to a programmed move programmed in Dragonframe. This is an example of a live action shoot on a multi-axis rig that I've built. And as you see, all the motors are moving synced together in real time. So you can shoot video while the camera is moving on the rig. This is an example of shoot, move, shoot. Camera moves from one position to the next. Motors hold the position. The animator might adjust something on the set, and you take the shot, and the motors move the camera to the next position. This can be happening both on the camera side or on the object side, no matter. And with DMC-32, it's possible for up to 32 motors. DMC-32 also has inputs for limit switches and also some external triggers, which is very useful in robotic shots. You can design a rig that can pour wine out of the bottle, which can spin the bottle at the same time, or maybe move it a little forward or up according to the set. So each of these are different axes of movement. So you might have a rig with, for example, 4 stepper motors, and you connect the motors via DMC-32 to Dragonframe, and you can trigger the move at the same time that the robot starts moving. It gets the external trigger and runs the move. So these two can be synced together, and the robot does its own movement, and the motors can move according to that. It's a very nice combination between a robot and Dragonframe. And we can use that because of this live action synced movement capability of the DMC-32. There is also a separate camera trigger port. You might want to use it for specific shots. I usually trigger the camera from the software through the USB connection, but there are times that you might want to use the external trigger for the camera, and that's another feature that DMC-32 has. Yeah, this was a short video explaining what DMC-32 is, because I receive a lot of questions from people. They want to start using motion control with Dragonframe. A lot of stop motion artists, they like to use motion control in their projects, and they ask me, should we go and buy a DMC-32? That's too expensive for us. And this is what this device does. It's an awesome piece of hardware. It's worth having it if you have the right application for it. But if you want to go with less expensive solutions, there are other solutions out there for Dragonframe that does not require purchasing a DMC-32 right now. You might want to start with those, but it all depends on you. Other DIY solutions usually do not support DMX, but other than that, if you want to start using motion control, you don't have to buy a DMC-32, but again, it's a very nice piece of hardware. If you'd like to learn more about motion control, please check out my other videos. Here's another video I explained about the DIY kit I developed for using motion control with Dragonframe. You might be interested in as well. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please let me know if you have any questions in the comment sections. Thank you for watching.